Welcome to EduMatch Tweet and Talk number 23. Today we're going to be talking about brushing the dust off those teaching classics and updating them so that they are relevant for classrooms in 2015. So follow along with us on Twitter with the hashtag EduMatch. Check us out at edumatch.education. And today we have a wonderful moderator rejoining us. We have Dorian Roberts, and we have a wonderful panel as well. So I'm going to go ahead and kick it over to Dr. Dorian Roberts. So welcome back.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another wonderful segment of Tweet and Talk with EduMatch. Today our topic is about the educational teachers books that we started off with and helping us with classroom management, instruction, you name it, during our survival of our first year of teaching. And it started up in a conversation in EduMatch, and we wanted to continue it on Tweet and Talk. And one of the most, I guess you want to say, the classic that everybody kind of focused and talked about was our wonderful How to Become an Effective Teacher, First Days of School, Harry Wong. That was the tool that I was introduced to. And I would just like to go through our panel. We have Valerie Lewis, we have Tammy Neal, Sarah, and we also have Heidi Carr on our panel tonight, and just talk about what we use as a survival tool, and also what we would recommend and how would we change the classes to make it relevant today. Why don't we start with you, Tammy? What was your tool?
Well, to be honest with you, I did not have a tool to start with. I wish I had. I was not introduced to the Harry Wong series, until probably about my third or fourth year of teaching. And it would have made a huge difference because I came into teaching through the private school, Christian school route. And there was not a such thing as professional development in that school at all. So it was sink or swim my first 3 years. Would have loved to have had the Harry Wong book because it really did give me some tools that work. I mean, they're tried and true and they work. And that was invaluable to me when I finally did get to read it.
Okay, Valerie, how about you?
I would say that I actually received the book from during my student teaching years. So my mentor student teacher, she put together a fabulous bin of things that she thought I needed, from classroom supplies to that famous easy grader tool where you slide, and she really hooked me up. And back in the day where chalkboards existed, so chalk and all of that, and that book was in there on the top of the bin. And so I think for me it was definitely a valuable tool, just kind of, I don't know, it felt like the thing that you needed to walk in there or in your classroom on the first day. I felt like management, I knew what to do with establishing that camaraderie and morale. And so for me, it was definitely, I'm glad that she purchased that book for me.
Okay, and Heidi?
Hi. Good afternoon, everyone. I got the Harry Wong book my very first year of teaching, as well as during our new teacher orientation, we were able to see Mr. Wong present to us as well. But I use that book religiously still every year to make sure I have the correct steps and expectations and routines. I get nervous every year, so I always double check to make sure I still have the same routines in place, or if I should tweak anything. So I still use that book, and then in conjunction, this year I added Teach Like a Pirate to assist me with my start of the school year.
Okay. Wow. So Teach Like a Pirate was one that you added to your library that you kind of enjoy. Would you recommend that for others? And could you tell us why, if you would?
Yes, I would recommend that to everyone. It's a wonderful book. It's you could adapt it for elementary. I teach elementary school, and he taught high school. So there's a great way to introduce yourself and get to know your kids. My favorite part is he had an activity with Play-Doh in there, and it was fun to see the elementary kids create something with Play-Doh that represents themselves as I was walking around the room. Instead of doing that all about me worksheet and they have to draw and write stuff, they got to create something that represented themselves. So that was one of my favorite activities this year.
Okay, thank you. Let me ask everyone this. Is there anything, and Tammy, you said after a few years of teaching, you were able to start reading or get your hands on the first days of school. Is there any chapter in particular that never fails, that is like one of the big go-to tips in Harry Wong?
Well, for me, the big go-to tip is the practice your procedures, practice your routines. Take that time at the beginning of the year or the beginning of your time with them. It doesn't necessarily have to be at the beginning of the year. If you're one of those teachers that come in the middle, start where you are, practice those routines. And it may sound silly and it may feel silly to have your kids practice lining up to go to the cafeteria or to the library, but you know what? In December or January, when you're still trying to figure out what to actually teach, those routines will help keep your classroom a little more controlled and a little less chaotic. So that to me is my big, and I cannot remember what chapter it was. My copy is actually at school where I keep it, and I'm on Thanksgiving break now. So, but that was the one that stood out with me, is practice those routines. Get the transitions. When we go from independent work to cooperative learning, practice those transitions of how do we get into groups so that the kids don't have to guess about that. That shouldn't be part of your learning process once you're trying to instill curriculum. So that's my big takeaway from the Harry Wong book.
Very good. I can agree. What about you, Valerie?
I think Tammy hit it on the head. That's my takeaway as well. My tagline is teaching it real. And my kids know who I am. Miss Lewis is going to be the same in August as she is in May. You know the routine. You know they come in, oh, Miss Lewis, can we take a break today? Y'all already know the procedure. We're in here from bell to bell. There's learning going on. There's not a day off. And so for me, I would agree totally with Tammy that let kids know who you are. Let them know your procedure. Even in your absence, they should still be able to carry on with the substitute in the same manner as though you were in that room. So yes, that's also my takeaway.
Okay, very good. Jennifer is here. She's joined us. Jennifer, we are really at the part now where we're talking about on the first days of school. What's like the biggest takeaway from the first day of school book, a chapter, or something that resonated with you? Do you have anyone in particular?
I was just thinking of, he talked about greeting students at the door and having everything set up and setting up your classroom norms those first few days and weeks of class. And I think that's important for me to get them into the routine right away.
Okay, thank you. How about you, Heidi?
My favorite, I don't know exactly what chapter, is the procedure chapter where it talks about things you don't think of, like sharpening pencils, your Kleenex or bathroom signals. Those are things that seem to be overlooked because we just don't think about them. But that is my favorite chapter. Writing notes, communicating with parents. I think those would be my two favorite that I refer back to every year.
Okay, and in addition, I want our people on Twitter, please chime in. Please feel free to give us your opinion. What are the new classes that are out there that you guys really feel that would help a new beginning teacher? By all means, feel free to chime in. Jacqueline, welcome. We just finished talking about Harry Wong, the first days of school, and a chapter that resonated with us. And I know because of the brief conversation that we had earlier, you hadn't had the opportunity to read Harry Wong, but you said that you read another book that helped you survive your first year of teaching. Would you like to talk about that?
Hello, everybody. Sorry I'm tardy to the party. Yes, the Harry Wong, I was never given that because I didn't have a traditional entry into the classroom. I kind of went about a different path. So a lot of those classics that new teachers get, I missed out on, which I'm kind of grateful for because I didn't have a fixed mindset coming into it and I didn't have set expectations, which allowed me to see it how I would just see it without any preconceived notions. The book that I was given, though, was called The Fundamental Five, and I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with that book, but it's a book that a lot of districts down here use, and you are either a Fundamental Five or a Fun Five campus or not. The Fundamental Five are essentially ways that you can break down your classroom and your instruction to maximize engagement. It involves being in the power zone, where you're walking around making sure that you are a part of the learning, recognizing and reinforcing the students, framing the lesson so that the students know what they're doing and how they are going to show mastery, critical writing, and then FSGPT, which is frequent small group purposeful talk. And it was a benefit having access to that book and reading that going into the classroom, because I was able to kind of get a foundation of what was considered engagement and what wasn't. But what I didn't really enjoy was the small group talk was so incredibly structured, and the teacher was still the guider of the classroom. Everything was done through the teacher. She was the keeper of all knowledge and all information. She decided the structure, and it creates a teacher-led environment and a teacher-led classroom, and I firmly believe that should be given to the students, and it left very little for student voice. So that's something that I would adjust. If I could go back and change that, it would be implementing more student voice.
Wow, wonderful, wonderful. Thanks for sharing that with us. Valerie, I understand you also have a book outside of the first days of school that you would like to chime in and recommend.
Yes, this book probably would not even be considered a typical teaching book, but it was one that my mom gave to me. She's, a devout believer, and ironically, it was written in Carson, called Think Big. Despite what we think about him as a politician, it was a powerful story. And so that allowed me to think about the dreams of my students. And as a teacher going into the classroom, knowing that that self-fulfilling prophecy that I would put on them would be what they would actually actualize. And so when she gave me that book to think big, it wasn't just for myself, but it was also for me to think big about the dreams that my students have and helping them to get there. So I would say that book was definitely instrumental in my pedagogy and my philosophy of teaching even to this day.
Wow, that's very interesting. I was given that book by my aunt. That's why I find it that was very interesting, but I never got a chance to read it or to finish it. Better yet, I should say to finish it. Tammy, do you have a book that you would try to put in the survivor skills of teaching?
The book that I would like to put in the hands of teachers is Drive by Daniel Pink. It talks about not just student motivation, but human motivation in general. And it really did get me to think about how I was motivating students in the classroom. It's just one of the ones that I think is extremely important when maybe the motivating the unmotivated is an issue for a beginning teacher. It's a really good book for helping with that.
Okay, and we have, I'm sorry, not Jacqueline, Jennifer, do you have a book you would recommend for the survival, for a teacher survival tip, or a book that you would encourage along with maybe the first days of school?
I don't know if it's a survival book, but like Tammy with Drive, that motivation for students. I think that's super important. I think Mindset is a great book to look at as far as with students when they get stuck and things like that. Sometimes we look at them and say, they're just giving up or they're too lazy, and taking a really good look at, is it because they think that they can't learn it? And we have to teach them that, that they have to change their mindset to a growth one where they, can't learn it, they're not learning it yet. I think it's super important to get kids to realize that they're not just born with all of the things they're going to have, that they can actually work at whatever they need to get better.
Okay. Thank you very much, Jennifer, for sharing that. Heidi, how about yourself? Do you have one that you would recommend?
Yeah, I would recommend Teach Like a Pirate. And then there's one that's it's not like a must, but I know it's helped me, called Fierce Conversations. And I think it will help when you have challenging parents or colleagues and how to deal with them during challenging conversations. So I think that's important. That's something we don't learn in undergrad on how to deal with challenging parents or colleagues.
Okay, I just want to welcome Dr. Jesus. Is that how you pronounce your name, sir? Okay, I think we're having just a little bit of trouble with his audio, but I want to take a question from our Q&A on Twitter. The question is, do you feel that the traditional programs help prepare student teachers for the classroom? Who would like to start off first? I know we all have our opinions about that. Who would like to start off first? By all means, Tammy, go right ahead.
I think that's a resounding no. I think that they prepare most student teachers are prepared for a perfect classroom, which at 25 years I haven't found one yet. So, and my daughter's preparing to be one, so I'm hoping I'm keeping her grounded. So, but no, I don't think that colleges and universities prepare for our students for the classroom at all.
Valerie, would you like to follow up with that?
Yeah, I think that unfortunately a lot of our pre-service teachers are coming out unprepared, especially in the area of technology. I think that we're focusing a lot on the theory, but now when it comes to the application and the classroom management, those things are out the window. So I think university programs need to revisit their whole curriculum and setup, and maybe equipping teachers with a stronger foundation.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I know whenever I have a student teacher in my room, one thing that I feel that universities do not do is help with the structure of classroom management. And I throw them right in, sink or swim. That's the first thing you need to do before you can teach any type of content. Jacqueline, do you have anything that you would like to add to that? Jacqueline actually took a alternate certification route to teach. So what do you think?
Well, my background and my previous profession before I stumbled into teaching was all about behavior. And so my go-to resources for new teachers and for student teachers, I always prefer the behavior management, the classroom management, the positive reinforcement. I believe strongly in relationships between the teachers and the students, and I really think that the climate of the classroom is a huge indicator of how successful you're going to be in a lot of what you do. And the Love and Logic series is something that I think has a lot of value. Of course, there's always going to be something that I would tweak if I could, and I definitely make it my own in my classroom. But the love and logic helps with new teachers, how they interact with the students, because I think they come into it with a very much a survival mentality and a me versus them, not necessarily in a negative way, just in a I need to make it through my first year, if I can just make it through today. So it takes some of that survivalist edge off and lets the teachers see the students as more humans and sees their behaviors as having a purpose and is able to recognize some of those behaviors in themselves as well. So I've seen that to be pretty successful in the classroom.
Heidi, what are your thoughts as well as far as preparation in the classroom, as far as colleges are concerned?
I think colleges do an okay service preparing us for the teaching field. However, the real life stuff that we have to do on a daily basis, I think that is lacking. We have the support on behavior management, but we don't always get the chance to dive in and learn about the behavior management system until student teaching in what is usually about like a month, maybe 6 weeks, where you actually get to run the class yourself, and those teachers have already established classroom routine. So it'd be nice to be able to learn how to do that before we implement. And there's some other, I think we need to have more cultural classes and learn about different cultures and how we can interact with them, because I think that is lacking in our universities as well. So that is my 2 cents on that for now.
And how about you, Dr. Jesus? How do you feel about colleges doing a good job in preparing our student teachers to teach our kids?
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
I think colleges are up in the air. At this point, colleges are trying their best to connect with the K-12 education. And we could see that at least in New Jersey, because the colleges are being present in the conversations around Common Core, around PARC, around other testing and strategies. I've heard this other college professor talking about using rubrics, which is something that I've never heard before. And because we have a lot of adjuncts that are current educational professionals or educational practitioners, that's another reason why we're also pushing more so in the college level towards moving towards understanding K-12.
Thank you very much. I would agree with you. I didn't think about that adjunct teachers, professors actually being from the classroom and having that experience to give off to the student teachers. That's a good thought. Jennifer, any comments or suggestions along the same lines for the colleges and universities?
Yeah, I think what everybody said is great. It is a good point that a lot of the professors are doctors and they have to do research at the university level, so they don't really have that classroom experience anymore. I think some of the things that we don't give student teachers or pre-service teachers experience is connecting with people. They have their supervisor, they have their supervising teacher, and that's pretty much their world along with their kids. I think we need to introduce them to ed camps, to Voxer, to Twitter early, so that they have people out there that they can connect with and throw things out to. Maybe they don't get along with their teacher that you're working with. Sometimes that's an issue. So having people out there that they can talk to and get advice from that are experienced would be a great help for them.
Wow, that's a very nice roundup for what we tried to do tonight. I just wanted to thank everybody for joining panel. I wanted to thank you guys all for looking at us and participating in the Tweet and Talk, and I'm going to hand it back over to Sarah Thomas for the conclusion of our program.
All right. What a great tweet and talk. Thank you so much, Dr. Roberts, for moderating that. And thank you to all of our panelists, as well as everyone participating on Twitter. So this chat will be storified, and it will also be available as an iTunes podcast within the next few weeks. So come back next week. We're actually going to do something pretty cool. We're going to do a live EduMatch on air. So people will come in, tell us a little bit about themselves, and we will try to hook them up with other educators around the world who have similar interests by going to our EduMatch database. So it's going to be a lot of fun, so definitely RSVP for that at bit.ly/tweettalk24, and hopefully all of you on the panel will rejoin us either for that or for a future episode. Anyone out there who's listening as well, you also have the invitation to be a panelist. So all you have to do is go to bit.ly/tweettalk24 and write the word panelist. And that way we'll get your Google Plus information. We'll have you all set up. Also, we have a brand spanking new EduMatch Google Plus community. So check it out, bit.ly/EduMatch Google Plus. So hopefully you can join in with us, and we'd definitely love to have you in there. Also, subscribe if you want to not miss an episode of EduMatch Tweet and Talk. We are now just wrapping up number 23, about to go into 24. So you can find all previous episodes that have been on iTunes at bit.ly/EduMatch podcast. So have a fantastic week. Everyone have a great break. Safe travels if you're going somewhere. And we hope to see you back next week. Same bad time, same bad channel.